All right, we are live. Great. There's still all. I guess nobody's watching yet, but we got two more. We got two people that just joined us. Okay, great, awesome. So, hey everyone, welcome. This is our next live interview event scheduled for today with Richard. I got Richard here from CYQIQ, and exciting to have you here on today, Richard.
Thank you so much for having me, Tony. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. So, usually before we get kind of started and kick things off, I usually like asking folks where they're watching from. So if you're watching, please tell us, type in your chat, whatever you're watching from, be it LinkedIn, YouTube, X. Just type in the chat and let us know where you're watching us from. And I'll be able to put that on the screen as well. All right, we got Christian. Woo! Yeah, absolutely, Christian. Um, I could put there so you can see where your comments as they come in, where you're watching from. So I personally am watching. I guess I'm hosting from Maryland. It's been Virginia, but now in Maryland. What about you, Richard? Where are you tuning in from?
So I'm tuning in from Cape Verde, actually, in Africa. We are on an
Oh,
executive retreat.
nice! Absolutely awesome. That's pretty good. All right, we got Gaurav from LinkedIn. Oh yeah, LinkedIn. I meant the state or country where you're watching from, but yeah, LinkedIn. That's fine. Absolutely. Angel, welcome. I see Miguel from Colombia. Welcome, Miguel. Christian from Berlin. Lanut from Romania. Hopefully, I pronounced your name right. But yeah, welcome. I see Angel from Phoenix. Welcome, everyone. This is pretty good to see everyone here today. Awesome. Great. Yeah, keep them coming in. In the meantime, I know you'll be able to see it on the screen as they go before we get started here. So we got Vivek from Netherlands. Um, welcome everyone. So I'll turn off the chat for now. You can still keep commenting, and then we'll get back to it. I'll show it again. We got Hassan from Lebanon, AJ from Denver. Awesome. Got a lot of people from a lot of different places joining in. So super excited. So keep them coming in. Keep them coming in. So today, before we even kick off, right? We have Richard, like I mentioned in the beginning. He's the CTO and co-founder of CYQIQ. And I know most of you probably are looking at it as CYQIQ. I did that the first time too, but then Richard was gracious enough to kind of let me know, hey, it's pronounced as psychic. So we might have something to talk about there a bit. Kind of the naming convention, where did that even come from? So that's very interesting. On top of that as well, the main agenda for today, what we're talking about today, is accelerating the product market fit with Streamlit. Essentially, how you can use Streamlit to build your product or be able to take your idea into fruition and getting it to product market fit before building it out with other massive front end frameworks. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome you, Richard. And if you could tell us a bit about yourself before we get started, that'd be great.
Sure. Hi, everyone. So I'm Richard. I'm originally from Hungary. My background is in data science and business. Out of college, I started working on first on text-to-speech research for the German language in a project funded by Google. Afterwards, I went on to work as a data science consultant and worked on a legal e-discovery project, an NLP-based legal e-discovery tool that was later spun off into its own startup. And then kind of throughout my master's, I became more and more exposed to entrepreneurship. And ultimately, it was during my time at UC Berkeley as a visiting researcher that I started CYQIQ together with my two co-founders, Tino and Nuno.
Oh, awesome. That's great. Quite a journey there from being an immigrant to the point where you've gotten where you are and actually building out a product. So that's very interesting, and I'm sure a lot of folks will be excited to kind of hear more about what you're working on at the moment. So before we even kind of get into what you're working on and about CYQIQ, can you give us like a quick short description of what product market fit? Because I'm sure some folks out there listening probably wondering what is it, what is this all about? So what is product market fit?
Yeah,
From your
sure. So the textbook definition of product market fit is something like the degree to which your product satisfies a strong market demand. But what it means for me personally is finding something so painful in the market, something like a pain point that people are really willing to act on, and building a product that solves that pain point and that people grab out of your hands. I can't say we are there yet with CYQIQ, but I think Streamlit helps us get there faster.
Yeah, absolutely. It reminds me of kind of I watched several YC videos, of course, that kind of talk about this concept pretty well, and yeah, it's just interesting to see how if you target a specific pain point, it could be your pain point or somebody else's pain point. You're solving a problem, and the more people realize that, oh, this is a tool or a solution that kind of solves my problem, then I'll keep using it, and then you kind of hit product market fit as a founder. So that's very interesting. And so to get into CYQIQ, how did it even come up to the point where you decided, let's just name it CYQIQ? And what does, because most people associate CYQIQ, of course, as, I'm going to read you a poem or something, and then I'm going to tell you future what's going to happen. What was the convention behind the naming of your company?
Yeah, well, I mean, in the true nature of an AI company, CYQIQ, the name was actually AI generated. What it means for us is, the metaphor is for being able to see the connections in your files, in your data. CYQIQ does that for you even before you do. So that's kind of the metaphor that we went with, and that's the theme that we
Cool. I think we lost you
go
there
with.
for a moment.
We have the little crystal ball emoji. That's
Okay.
kind of
Awesome. Yeah, I think we had lost you for a moment there, but you're back. So that's good. So I guess to recap a bit about, I guess the naming convention. So the CYQIQ abbreviation, it's not an abbreviation for something, right? Just to get it.
No,
Okay.
it is not. It is not.
Okay.
Once again, so it is just it's a metaphor for being able to see the connections in your data, and helping you analyze things faster.
Awesome. And I know the target from your website, the target is mostly consultants at this point. I guess tell us a bit about more. Was there like a specific pain point that you saw there, or you had some experience with it that kind of prompted you to go down this path?
Yeah, actually, the target audience is a little bit broader. So
Okay.
technically, we build AI software for professional services firms. But you are right. One of the main customer groups is indeed consulting. And yeah, I mean, I can tell you a bit more about how we started CYQIQ and what inspired us. Well, it was a problem that my co-founders and I experienced, and a new technology that came out and became widely available, and kind of the merger of these two is what led us to CYQIQ. So, as I said, I worked as in a consulting related field. My co-founders were consultants earlier, and while solving complex business problems and challenges was something very interesting, the process was rather manual and rather tedious. Millions of Excel files, copy pasting, formatting data, and so on. We view this as a very high value industry, and a high potential for automation. So that's kind of the problem part and the pain point part. And then ChatGPT came out in last November, and I remembered back my days when I was working on legal e-discovery and NLP, and back then, kind of the frontier was named entity recognition, knowledge graphs, sentence tokenizers that worked for multiple languages. But now with ChatGPT, you can do things with numbers, you can do things with agents, with tools, and I thought finally we can solve a problem that is not only applicable to text.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I know there's always this connotation kind of associated with consultants and their PDFs and their Excel files. So yeah, absolutely, that's interesting to see kind of you tackling that problem coming from kind of personal experiences that you've had, you and your co-founders. So yeah, that's interesting. I'm excited down the road to kind of see the demo itself, because I guess also for our audience, there's going to be a demo here. So very excited to see what that's going to look like as well. And just kind of getting into the Streamlit aspect of things, when you started building, what came into your mind in terms of, we have this idea that we want to build out and test it to see even if anybody else is interested, or is it just us that we are interested on this problem? So kind of walk us through how that thought process came up to the point where you're like, let's use Streamlit.
Sure. Happy to talk about it. I'm a huge fan of the framework. I think I'm
Awesome.
a little bit of an advocate as well. I do recommend it to a lot of people. Well, now it has kind of become really the primary framework that we use to build our proof of concepts and MVPs over the past couple of months. And yeah, what I really love about it is, as I said in my introduction, I'm more a data science research background. I'm not a full stack engineer. Python is kind of my bread and butter, but JavaScript, React is there's people much better than me in JavaScript and React. And in the beginning, we put a lot of effort into building overly complex architectures, custom front end, beautiful Next.js front end, and I just realized we were going way too slow. The fluff was kind of not necessary to prove the core value of what we were building. Okay. And that's when I found Streamlit, and I realized I run a small engineering team, 3 people. Switching to Streamlit really allowed me to ship products on average every 2 weeks, right? So it's just something that, for me personally, not having the full stack engineer background was a major improvement. Bringing the front end so much closer to the back end is really a game changer.
I mean, absolutely. And I've heard this a lot, actually. And I think myself, I kind of fit in the same shoes as you in this case. I'm not a big kind of front end person with things like JavaScript, React. I'm not really great at that. So this kind of fills in the need. And just like you, when I discovered it as well, it was more like no brainer, Python all the way. But yeah, this is interesting to see how you kind of use that. Coming from we also having a small team where you want to iterate faster and accelerate towards actually building something that other people can use. I think that's very interesting, and it's also pretty cool to use Streamlit, because with Streamlit you can do a whole lot of like that quick iteration process without needing a lot of I guess overload on the back end. So that's very interesting. So after you kind of build out this platform, right? Were there any challenges that you face, especially with Streamlit and integrating your idea into the Streamlit apps itself?
Yeah, sure. I'm sure you've heard this a lot as well, but I mean, there's a few things that take some time to getting used to.
Yeah.
I would say, the constant rerun from top to bottom is probably the number one thing that I've not experienced before.
Yes.
It's especially complicated, when you want to potentially persist some history of the user, like parts of the UI, elements that are supposed to stay there when other elements change and re-render. And updating all this sometimes ends up being a huge mess of nested if else elif clauses.
Yes.
I would say this is the main number one thing that was complicated at first, but once you get the hang of session state management, it is really doable.
Yes.
Let me think of another. Potentially logging and debugging, maybe not the simplest. And also, actually, here's a recent one. If you're running experiments and deploying your Streamlit app and potentially want to integrate Google Analytics or anything else that is able to track your what people are doing on your website and on your web app. Tracking experiments, specifically with Google Analytics, is pretty difficult because you can't really access the elements specifically. So it requires some workaround.
Yes.
If anyone has a good solution, reach out, by the way. But at least these are probably the 3 main challenges that I've seen.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, thank you for the feedback, first of all. And yes, we do get a lot of questions, especially around the rerun, kind of running the app from top to bottom every time there's any interaction with any elements within the application. So that's something that we're acutely aware of. But definitely, like you mentioned, there's things like session state that can kind of workarounds around that aspect to be able to achieve kind of the same outcome. What I've seen as well, folks doing is kind of logging some of these interactions or states into like a database from something like Firestore or something, and then being able to, I guess, call it like when a specific user does something, it kind of calls it back, which it could be computationally, I guess, expensive, but at the same time, it's the good thing, and I think this is the good thing with Streamlit is kind of like that. It's very flexible. You can kind of play around with it. You can use CSS here. You can inject a lot of things to kind of make it closer to something that you want as well. So it's great for prototyping, like you mentioned as well.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, but yeah, definitely great feedback there. That we'll definitely pass it on to the engineering team as well. They've probably heard about this a million times, but it's also great to kind of get this feedback real time as well. So And that kind of leads me to the next question of your integration with Streamlit as well. After you did the integrations and everything is working so far, I'm sure you've had to like update several aspects of your app with the new changes. For example, for the elements that you've used in your app, are there specific ones that you were super excited about? Because we have components, we have different types of stuff you can use to customize your app. But are there specific ones that I guess, you loved a lot more than the others?
Yeah, sure, 100%. Excuse me if I don't get the lingo perfect, but
Yes,
the built-in components definitely. I think all the widgets, data editor particularly, multi-page capabilities. This is probably everything that comes out of the box. There is fantastic. Also, we'll probably talk about this later during the demo as well, but also caching, super easy to integrate, has a massive effect on the UX,
yeah,
and yeah, it works really, really well. And I don't know if this is maybe an extra one, but I also really like the community. Um, if I need to do something in Streamlit, probably after 5, maybe 7 minutes of Google searching,
yeah.
I find it out if it's possible or not, because usually someone has already posted about it in the forum. And also the community components like the extras, Streamlit chat, integrations with other open source frameworks. These are big favorites.
Awesome. Yeah, absolutely. We do definitely have a good community, and we really appreciate them. And and for anybody listening, if you ever run into any issues with your Streamlit app, go to our forum. It's discuss.streamlit.io, and there's probably somebody that's faced the same issue as you. Or you can just Google Streamlit, and then the error message that you're getting, and you'll be able to get to our forum. And there's a lot of robust answers there that folks have already kind of tackled. If there's none, or it doesn't fit your specific need, just kind of open a new question there, and usually get answers within a couple few hours, if not like a day or so. But yeah, that's pretty amazing. So without further ado, we're just kind of going into all this. I think we're ready for the demo, and I'm sure the audience is probably ready for the demo. So take us away.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so if the demo gods are with me, I'll try to do this live. And
Awesome.
if anything falls through, then I'll revert back to some videos. Let
All
me
right.
see if I can share the screen here. And here we go. I hope you can see the app.
Yep.
Okay, so my plan now is I'll show you 2 simple demos that are part of one workflow. The first demo that I have open right now, this leverages large language models to extract structured topics out of unstructured text data. And then the second demo allows you to kind of analyze and create insights out of these structured or semi-structured data that is kind of the end point of the first demo. So let's get into this. This is the first one. Here you can find data from a large survey among employees of a company. Open-ended questions usually are super insightful for consultants, any professional services worker. But reading through hundreds of them or several hundreds of them can be massive pain. So we built a small demo showcasing how CYQIQ leverages large language models to help extract the most important topics and topic categories out of these comments. So what I'll do here is I quickly select one question to analyze. Let's say, for example, the ENPS comments. So these are open-ended employee net promoter score comments. And then you can see here already there's a few default categories loaded into which past ENPS comments have been categorized into. So these are loaded on default, but you can also add a few custom ones if you wish. And then I can simply decide how many of these comments I want to categorize. For the sake of time, I won't do too many here, but as you can see, this is really a big survey. So processing these comments efficiently is really a game changer for the people that we deployed this app for. And then I can technically just hit categorize comments. And what happens here in the background is that we split these comments into batches, and then an LLM, and then we send these into an LLM and extract the topic categories out of them. Yeah, as long as it's rendering on the screen here live, I'd like to point out one of the key Streamlit components that we use, which help us mitigate this time-consuming operation, which is kind of this status. I think it's called status, right, Tony?
Yes. ST status. Yes.
Exactly, as the status component here. LLMs can be slow, and keeping the user engaged and informed while you can't directly stream data into the UI is really, really crucial. So this really helped us with that. Also making sure, the app is not stuck, seeing some timestamps. Anyway, so I sent through here, I think, what was it, 34 comments, 33 comments, and it was done in a relatively quick time. And then, as you can see, they are kind of shown here on the screen, all the ENPS comments with the topic categories that were extracted from them. And now, once this categorization is done, I want to showcase another very crucial Streamlit component that we use here, which is the data editor, right? So this helps humans, to kind of the end user, review what the LLM has done, and in a simple user experience enables them to change it, right? So let's say, I don't know, this comment here has been categorized as other. I can change this to anything that is present in the map. And so on and so forth. So this, once again, LLMs can be inaccurate, and they are not ready to be run on autopilot. So giving users the ability to kind of, to review this and modify the output is really, really key. And we can use the data editor with a column config perfectly for this. So I'll now hit confirm categorization, and then in a few moments, this has been saved and pushed up to the database. Can also be downloaded as an Excel. Exactly. So this is kind of the end of the first demo. It was a very simple example of extracting topic categories or tags in HR data. But now let me show you something a bit more complex, where we use the same logic for market research data about the company. So I'll switch to the other tab here. So here we loaded a bunch of qualitative interview and quantitative survey data into CYQIQ. And once again, as the data was categorized and tagged, as you have seen earlier, we are able to present it to the user in kind of a really neat UI here. I personally really like this. So as you can see here, I can drop down the big topic sections. And then afterwards, I can select a few questions here. For example, I don't know, let's say, where are your what primary and markets do you serve? Where are your operations located? So on and so forth. So as you can see here, then we are presented with the data right away on the right side, which is pretty neat, right? Once it is so nicely structured, I can use this data to then leverage it for insights and analysis. So I can do just that. Let's say maybe, I don't know, let's go with one column at first. Let's say, what primary and end markets do you serve? If I hit here, generate observations, and if the demo gods are with me, they are, hopefully. Then, as you can see here, as I hit the button, instantly insights start streaming onto the UI effortlessly, and users no longer have to read every cell here of the categorized and tagged data, but instead they can, read higher level insights that summarize the cross section. Exactly. So this is regarding interviews, and as you can see here at the end, we leverage Streamlit's form component to gather some feedback from the user. Now, the same thing also works for survey data, and I'll try to be quick in the interest of time. I'll just go to another project here. If I load this, as you can see, it was already cached. We can talk about this later. And I move on to the survey data part. Then as you can see here, this is fake data. You don't have to worry about this. Once again, the same logic is shown here, right? In an expander, kind of, we can select between all the big parts of the survey as it was already tagged by our platform. And potentially, if I select, I don't know, how important are the following factors when choosing Peach Inc. or another vendor, I can see here all the importance rating from a massive survey from respondents. And what we do here is, once again, we kind of provide an interface, both a conversational one, which I'll get into later, and then kind of a per button click interface of analyzing this data using large language models. So I show one here. For example, if I select how important are the following factors, and let's say I select two factors here, let's say price and superior product quality. If I click here, generate summary statistics, then as you can see here, our app will start actually an agent here in the background, which will start to make reasoning and actually integrate with Wolfram Alpha here to make a deterministic mathematical calculation regarding the summary statistics of these two columns in the data. What's really neat about this is it's once again quite an engaging user experience.
Yes.
On the one hand, and on the other hand, you can always read back kind of the reasoning of the AI agent here to make sure that it was correct. Now the API call has gone out. If everything goes well, response has already come back. This looks a little bit unstructured, but it's perfectly readable for our LLM. And as you can see here, or to be specific, as you can see, it's starting to interpret kind of the results right away, and it will start providing a final answer, nicely structured in Markdown, and a few key observations that kind of what this final answer could mean. Yeah, so this is specifically regarding survey data and this one-click interaction. And as soon as this finishes, I will just type one message into the chat so that you can also see that in action. As you can see here, it rendered now onto the screen. We got the summary statistics and some key takeaways from this analysis. And then once again, we can rate it with our feedback component. Now, this is the last thing, Tony. I'm sorry for going so much in depth. I hope this is interesting for viewers. What if you wouldn't just want summary statistics of your survey data, but what if you wanted to take this to the next level and ask for something that you potentially couldn't even do in Excel before, or it took you a lot of time to do? Well, what if I type in, for example, are there some interesting correlations that I should further explore? So if I type in something like this, once again, our agent will start reasoning. And actually here it leverages the Python REPL on my computer to calculate the correlation matrix of this part of the data set. And then, as you can see, it starts interpreting those, providing the user with some ideas on, what they could potentially further investigate in this data set. So I guess to summarize everything, the workflow that I just showed you was tagging data with LLMs and bringing into structure. And then second, once that structured data is provided, using a very easy either press of a button or a natural language interface to extract really meaningful insights out of that data. And with that said, I'm done with my demo.
Awesome. That's great. So what I've seen from the demo, and I'm sure everybody else has seen, it's a lot of Streamlit features, first of all, that you've carefully kind of incorporated in the app. And the app looks amazing, just so you know as well. It's pretty smooth and easy to kind of like understand. So just kind of like intricacies of that. So for folks that are kind of looking at this and wondering, okay, that application looks really cool, but how does this kind of like, how did you build it, for example? So the back end side of things is kind of like the heavy lifting part where you kind of did all the, once you're loading the data, what happens in the back. So that's, I guess, where you spend a lot of your time. And maybe you can use percentages here to tell us how much time do you think you spend on the back end, and then how much time do you spend on like the front end part of Streamlit integration part?
Ooh, good question, but I would say it's probably an 80-20.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So 20% on building the app itself, the one that everybody's looking at today, but the backend logic is the 80%. So and that's pretty much I think that's kind of accurate to some extent for sure.
Yeah, to give you a very actionable example here, technically I prototyped both of these apps directly in Streamlit. So I even skipped the the Figma part and going through the UX. I just made it a dummy Streamlit app first without any functionality. Yeah. And then once I had that, I got feedback on that in the user experience perspective. And once that was solid, all I had to do was kind of plug in the backend, which was challenging. And that's what needed the most tweaking.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's pretty fascinating how if you know Python and you kind of frees you a bit in terms of even the workload. Hey, you spend more time in the back end building the logic, and then you just slap on the Streamlit side, and boom, you have an app that you can actually share with folks. So I know you mentioned that consultants kind of like part of the target group of people that could use this. Are there any other particular subset of groups of people that you think, or professionals that you think this could be really useful for them?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, actually, this is very relevant topic for us right now. We are running a lot of experiments of opening up what we have built to different target groups as well. I don't have any super final and determined results yet, but what I do have is we've gotten a lot of positive feedback on net promoter score surveys from product managers as first. That was a target group that found this very interesting. Also, and then there's, in consulting, there's many subsections of consulting. This can be useful for due diligence consulting, can be useful for voice of the customer analysis, so kind of market research consulting. We've gotten some interest from finance as well with this natural language experience. I think that's not exhaustive, but we definitely see some use for it outside the vertical as well.
Awesome, great. And for folks, I put in the contact for Richard there, and also look at the link tree on the screen there, so you can look more into CYQIQ and how it could help you for sure. And as well, I just want to open it to the audience as well. If you have any questions, please put it in the chat. Be it questions for Richard or myself, just put it in the chat. We'll take the questions now. And I see a lot of folks over there already asking some. This one person has a question there, so. From Rajan, and I'm going to put that on the screen in a second. So yes, Raj says, is there way to implement Azure SSO in Streamlit application? So this is an interesting question. I think I'll probably be able to take this one, unless you have some experience with this, Richard.
Go ahead.
But yeah, so this is a question that we also kind of get a lot in our Discuss forum, and we have like an in-depth explanation of kind of the integrations with some of these cloud providers, and that should be on our docs. But let me give you a link to our docs here, just for ease as well. I'll put that over in the chat, and there you'll be able to find some questions there and answers that kind of target this specific question. So there's so many ways you can implement, for example, single sign-on, and I don't remember exactly the way we kind of solve this, but I've seen a question like this on our forum. I would be able to dig in and get you the question, but I will direct you to our forum, and you'll be able to find the question, be able to search through there and be able to find some of these questions that's been already answered there. So let's see, quick second. All right, there you go. So if you look at the Jumbotron I put there, the Streamlit Discuss forum, you can go there. You'll find some of these questions, answers on there as well. Raj, hopefully that was a bit helpful as well. And Christian has a question as well. Let's see, question from Christian on LinkedIn. Christian says, session states, I want to get it right. You mentioned massive improvements. Yeah. Not sure if that was a question, but yeah. So I guess Richard, how did you find working with session state? Was it pretty intuitive for you?
Yeah. So I'd say in the beginning, as I said earlier, it takes a bit of getting used to. What I ran into a lot is kind of making it work with different different pages of the app, and also kind of making sure it's always at least defined. So the key in the dictionary of session state is at least always defined. I think that's kind of the tricky part, and then kind of the addition of and deletion of the values under the keys. That's I think then is a little bit easier. It takes practice, to be honest. Yeah, takes a bit of tweaking.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it definitely. I think for me as well, it takes a while to kind of, I guess, understand what session state is in the beginning. If you're a newbie, then once you understand what session state is, and then looking at how Streamlit implements it, then it kind of makes sense after that, and just becomes really intuitive to work with.
Maybe one last point on it. Sorry, I think maybe that wasn't clear. It is structured as a dictionary, and I think that's why I was referring to keys and values. I think if
Oh
you
yes.
think of it as one, then it becomes a bit more intuitive.
Yeah, absolutely. That's very helpful that you brought that up as well. It's a pretty interesting way to think about it. So we have a question from Angel here. How do you manage authentication flows and callbacks in Streamlit? Um, I don't think I have a direct answer for you for that right now. But as well, I think I would refer you to our docs here for that as well. Not even docs. I think the forum is kind of like the really the best place if you're looking for like super specific answers, because uh, most of these questions, I've seen these questions. I just can't recall it at this time, but I've definitely seen these questions. So, Angel, I put the link up there as well for the Discuss Streamlit. And if you go there, there's like a search bar where you can kind of like just search exactly. You can search your questions like that one exactly, and it's going to show you some similar questions or something related to that. And there's been a lot of interest in authentication, especially on the Streamlit side from folks that I've seen. And there's been hacky ways that people have kind of tried to kind of work with this. And I'm sure it's something that will be in the roadmap at some point for the Streamlit team to work on. And let's see. So there's another question here from, let's see. Oh, yes, Asaf. Might be a question. Yes. So one of the problems I've encountered is that Streamlit is outstanding for prototypes, but can be used for commercial ready web apps. Is this something you'll be focusing on, or Streamlit's main focus will remain demos and MVPs? So yeah, so I think that's the question towards me. So yeah, at this point, things could change, of course, but like at this point, Streamlit is mostly, like you mentioned, really great for MVPs and prototyping, and that's what we want to kind of focus on at this point. There's so many things that would have to happen for it to be like commercially ready for people that want to, I guess. And I'm not like saying that this is limited to that, but I've seen people that have kind of monetized their Streamlit apps. Very few subset of people, to be fair, and that's another interesting subset of people that want to use with that. But at the moment, the main really focus has been prototypes and MVP. So you can build something that you can share real fast and without having to go into all the details of React, JavaScript, and handling all that front end work. So hopefully that kind of answers your question, Asaf. I think Christian had another question. Does it help on dynamics? Looking not refresh the page every time. Um,
I
yeah.
can take this.
So yeah, I think
Tony,
that
if
you think you can answer that. You can answer that.
yeah,
Yeah.
but I think session state it can be helpful for this, but I think there is a resource that I would look into if I were you, Christian, which is the caching mechanism. I think the decorator cache data, if I know it by heart, right, Tony? Something like this.
Yes.
Which is super useful. We use this really quite a lot. As you could see, I was switching around in projects in the app while I was doing the demo, and it went relatively quickly, even though these are tied to an external storage bucket. And that's the reason. The reason behind this is simply if you cache a function, then Streamlit manages this cache for you super nicely in the. I guess it's in a container. So this is something that I would look into. Super easy to use. You just need a decorator, and then you can clear the cache of a specific function. This really helped us speed up parts of the app when there's external dependencies like data loading and so on.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, caching. Yeah, we have caching, cache data, and we have cache resource. So cache data would be for maybe data you're calling from a database or from that you'll be calling several times. And then we also, you could set the time to leave as well. So maybe after 60 minutes kind of expires and has to run again if somebody reruns it. And then you have the cache resource where you can cache models or connections to databases and things like that. But yeah, absolutely. Hopefully that answers that. And then we have a question from Ayak Taggett. Hopefully I'm saying this right. But which language do the impressive psychic tools work? Can they even handle multi-language survey data?
Yeah, I can take this one. Yes, actually, this is a use case that we have right now. We have a company in Europe that works in multiple European markets, and they often have mixed language data. But the power of large language models is actually kind of in the embedding space, meanings of topics are close to each other, independent of language. So we build on these large language models, and therefore able to support a wide variety of languages. Yeah, hope that answers the question.
Awesome. Yep, I think that's pretty good. And we have another question from Christopher Jones. We're experiencing our app going to sleep while users are clicking around in the app. How do we avoid this? So I think this is a question I can take. So I think I would want to ask you specifically, by sleep, do you mean the app just goes blank, or is it more of it goes to sleep and then it tells the user, hey, wake up the app? Basically, it shows the Z's. If it shows the Z's, there's a timeline. I think it's about 7 days where if there's no use on the Streamlit app, it does go to sleep, and somebody just has to click wake it up, and then it kind of reboots and starts back up. So that's if that's what you're referring to, just kind of need somebody to click on it maybe before the 7 days are over. But if there's another issue that kind of the app has been live and then it just kind of goes to sleep in the middle of somebody interacting with that app, then there might be some other underlying issue. And if it still continues, feel free to ping me, Christopher, and we'll be able to get you some help there for sure. All right. I think that was, let's see. All right. Okay. So you got some clarification here. So you said Z, wake up the app, but it happens within minutes. So I'm guessing the app kind of goes to sleep, and then somebody's interacting and it goes to sleep, and then you wake it up, and then it kind of doesn't come up from sleep. Yeah. So absolutely. Please reach out to me on my LinkedIn. You can find me at Tony Keep Kimboy, and I'll be able to help you there. Or as well, you can also go to our forum and open the question, and me or any other staff in my team will be able to kind of jump in and help you with that. So if it's something more underlying than just kind of what it seems. So absolutely. Uh, all right, cool. I think we got most of the questions out of the way. Let me see if there's anybody else. Anybody else? Any other last minute questions before we close this today? Let me just put it up there for one more time. Just see the folks that we're tuning in from today. I guess we got no comments, so it's not showing up. But yeah, thank you, everyone. I think Eduardo from Brazil. We got a lot of people that joined in today. So thank you all for joining us today. It's been great, and uh, thank you, Richard. It's been great having you on today to tell us more about CYQIQ and what you're working with. And everybody else, if you want to connect with Richard, please see the link at the bottom of this jumbotron here, and reach out to him, connect with him, and maybe you get to be a customer or get to interact with what he has on his app as well, on his product. So also put the link there for CYQIQ. It's a link tree, so you'll be able to see all the links that they have for the company. But with that, also, I want to give you, Richard, some time to kind of close it out and tell us some last minute stuff that you want to share with the community.
Yeah, thank you very much, Tony. It was a great opportunity. There's only one last thing that I wanted to shout out, which is what's next for us at CYQIQ. So as you could see, we've now built a lot of prototypes. We have our first customers. We now kind of are approaching the point when we have what we need to scale.
Yes.
So the next couple of months we'll be launching a self-service version. Actually, one of the prototypes, the survey data one, you can try it out now. I think, Tony, you have a link that you can put in the chat.
Yes.
So that is something that I wanted to share. And then another point is that we are hiring. So for engineering roles, so please feel free to send me a LinkedIn message or DM me on Twitter. Feel free to reach out if you want to join the mission. Would love to start a conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Yeah. So you heard it. If you want to get a job at CYQIQ, of course, get in touch with Richard and get in the process. Maybe this is your opportunity to work with some really cool team and really cool product as well. And I've put the link underneath there. So if you want to copy that and look into CYQIQ and see the product they have, please feel free to do that. And let's see, I think no other questions. So great job, guys. David Carr, thank you as well for joining us. And we have Jan from Netherlands, I believe, if I'm not wrong. NL. I'm not sure if that's Netherlands. Hopefully I got it right. Yeah, I think it's Netherlands. All right, great. But without further much going into much details at this point, I think we've exhausted most of the stuff that we want to talk about today. And also want to thank everybody for showing up today. We'll have more of these recurring events every month. We have another one coming up next week as well. So please stay tuned and also provide us with your feedback. Leave it in the comments if there's anything you liked about this interview or not, or things you think we could improve on. We definitely welcome all types of reviews here. So thank you for joining us today, and happy holidays for those who are in the US. Happy Thanksgiving. And also for everybody else in the world, happy Thanksgiving and also happy holidays for all of you. And with that, thank you and see you next time. Goodbye.
Take care, everybody.
Bye.